The St. Vincent government faces a no-confidence motion. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, January 30. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The Unity Labour Party government of Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, which has a one-seat majority in Parliament, will face an opposition-filed no-confidence motion on Wednesday. The motion was filed on Monday, moments before opposition MPs walked out of Parliament to protest Finance Minister Camilo Gonsalves' continued silence on an alleged extramarital affair with 23-year-old former model Yugi Farrell, who has been charged with cursing his wife. In the motion, the opposition legislators contend that the Gonsalves government has been failing the people miserably in providing a satisfactory quality of life. They also say the government's priorities in its use of taxpayers' money have produced totally inadequate health services and basic maintenance of roads. The motion also states that the collapse of the economy has deprived youth of hope and employment opportunities, and there is a climate of fear through intimidation at all levels of society. But Prime Minister Gonsalves is confident that his administration will defeat the motion. He says he does not plan to run from the debate and is sure the 8 members on his side all have confidence in the government. There are 7 opposition New Democratic Party MPs in Parliament. The head of the Caribbean Development Research Services, Peter Wickham, is predicting a victory for Grenada's ruling New National Party, the NNP, in the March 13 general election. The respected regional pollster says the main opposition National Democratic Congress, the NDC, which failed to win any of the 15 seats in the 2013 poll, may find it difficult, if not impossible, to overturn such a huge deficit.
An NP is in pole position, and when you come from a situation where you have all these seats, it puts you in pole position to win the next election. But I think the NNP's challenge now is it has to really be very careful about voter motivation. In a situation like this, NDC supporters will vote. They will be motivated to vote because they're coming out to help the party do as well as possible. The NNP supporters are a mix of people, however. There are some NNP loyalists, the core, which will always support you. But there are others who are perhaps not necessarily NNP-ites to speak of, but are people who are, undecided voters, people who are going with Mitchell because they think he's the better option, people who may have been less enthusiastic voters. Now, if these people decide that they're not going to go to vote for 2 reasons, one, that they think their election is already won, which is not, or alternatively, 2, they feel that, you could as well give the opposition a seat or 2. It can start an avalanche that can lead to a Trump situation.
Wickham says during the campaign a lot of things could happen, and he says the ruling party has to be on its guard against the perception that it has already won. He recalled the situation in Barbados 5 years ago where the opinion polls had predicted a victory for the main opposition Barbados Labour Party, only for the incumbent Democratic Labour Party to win by a 2-seat margin. He said the situation was also similar in the United States.
The role of the uncertain voter, the role of the person who is not going to jump up and down in a green T-shirt is something about which Dr. Mitchell ought to be concerned. And I think that those are the people who can very well, if he is not careful, they can bite him in the nose. You're looking at legacy. Really, this is what this election is about. This election is about legacy. And I've seen a lot of that in his actions and his machinations. And perhaps this idea of reaching out and building this bridge or continuing to build this bridge to the Maurice Bishop sympathizers is a final, part of his whole campaign towards, building bridges.
Newly installed Bishop of the Catholic Church in Grenada has instructed clergy members not to appear on political platforms to deliver opening prayers during the season of campaigning ahead of the March 13 general election. Bishop Clyde Harvey urged citizens to refrain from allowing the political campaign to degenerate into a season of mudslinging and character assassination. He said the church regards character assassination as a form of murder and against the Fifth Commandment. He added that according to the teachings of the church, its leaders should not directly involve themselves in parties and politics by seeking to be candidates for political parties or by urging church members to vote for any particular party. He called on church members that's church leaders and members to respect the political choices of citizens. This is the first time in the history of political campaigning in Grenada that the Catholic Church has issued such a statement. A British legislator is calling on the Bermuda government to withdraw legislation banning same-sex marriages. Opposition Labour parliamentarian Chris Bryant made the call even as Minister of State for Europe and the Americas Sir Alan Duncan said that although the United Kingdom was disappointed, the overseas territory is backtracking on marriage equality. The legislation represents progress when compared to a year ago. The two expressed their views during a House of Commons adjournment debate on Bermuda's 2017 Domestic Partnership Act, which was passed last month. The legislation is designed to replace same-sex marriage, which was approved by a judge last year, with civil partnerships. Although approved by Parliament, it has yet to get the assent of Governor John Rankin, who is taking legal advice on the legislation and its constitutional implications. Bryant suggested that Governor Rankin has a right not to sign the bill into law according to the Bermuda Constitution.
The Governor has very good cause not to grant royal assent. Since Section 12 of the Constitution expressly guarantees freedom from discrimination, and the Bermudian Human Rights Act of 1981 also expressly prohibits discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation in at least 7 different points. And to the Premier of Bermuda, I hope you change your mind. I hope Bermuda changes its mind, and I hope the government doesn't sign this legislation into law.
Although saying Britain was not happy with Bermuda's decision, Sir Alan, speaking on behalf of British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, said the UK should respect the island's democratic process.
But there are 3 important points that I would urge the House and the honourable member moving the debate tonight to bear in mind. The first is that if the bill receives assent, it does ensure that Bermudians who have been legally married in Bermuda since the Supreme Court decision will retain their marriage status, and they will enjoy the same legal rights as those in domestic partnerships, putting this on a clear statutory footing, of course. And so I move to my second point, which is that the European Court of Human Rights has consistently held that there is not yet a right to same-sex marriage, but there is a requirement to provide some legal recognition of same-sex relationships. And the final point worth bearing in mind is that less than a year ago, same-sex couples had no legal recognition at all under Bermudian law. Now they have the equivalent of recognition through civil partnership if this bill goes through. And while I not wish to do anything but express regret over the backward step from the Supreme Court ruling, we should acknowledge that this domestic partnership bill does represent progress in comparison to the situation just a year ago.
The border controversy between Guyana and Venezuela will be referred to the International Court of Justice. The decision was made by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres after his personal representative failed to resolve the controversy over the 1899 Arbitral Tribunal Award that settled the boundary between Venezuela and then British Guyana. The UN Secretary General, who had promised to refer the matter to the ICJ if he determined that no significant progress had been made to resolve the issue during the period of discussion. In a statement issued Tuesday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said Guyana has always held the view that the ICJ is the appropriate forum for the peaceful and definitive settlement of the controversy. And the country is pleased that that view has prevailed under the process developed by both Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Secretary General Antonio Guterres. According to the ministry, Guyana will not allow factors extraneous to the controversy to influence its referral to the court, but it will continue the advancement of peaceful that's relations with Venezuela, whose people are the brothers and sisters of the Guyanese people. It says that in this context, Guyana acknowledges the Secretary General's suggestions for the immediate future. President David Granger said repeatedly that he believes the judicial settlement is the best way to go and is convinced that it will go in Guyana's favor. And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, Barbados suffers its fastest decline in foreign reserves in a year. The details of that story and more after the break.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
From 1950, beauty pageants have been an integral part of carnival celebrations in St. Lucia. The format has evolved. The ladies have gotten darker and further removed from the city. The prizes have improved from a check for $100 to university scholarships. Yet the role of the chaperone has forever been present. The dressmakers and costume designers are revered.
Barbados has suffered its fastest decline in foreign reserves in a year. The revelation has come from regional economist Marla Dukaran, who has warned that the decline is putting even more pressure on the island's prized exchange rate of 2 Barbados dollars to $1 US. Dukaran is reporting that the international reserves fell to an all-time low of $482 million, or just under 8 weeks of import cover as at November last year. She says this is the lowest level of foreign reserves in the last 17 years. And she said it was due to, in part, to government's continued reliance on the central bank to finance its operations. There have been mounting calls from worried economists and political pundits, as well as business community, for the Frendel-Stewart administration to curb its spending and take urgent steps to shore up the reserves and return the economy to sustainable growth. The reserves have been on a downward trajectory, with government facing a high import bill, a massive debt of just over 100% of gross domestic product, and a worrying deficit of about 6% last year. Trinidad and Tobago's President-elect Paula May Weeks says dealing with matters within the judiciary will be a top priority when she assumes office in March. Youth and crime will also be high on her list of focus areas. Sherilyn Lewis of C News has this report.
Tough Talkers President-designate Paula May Weeks said dealing with issues arising out of the judiciary is a top priority for her, and for now she will not intervene in any existing matters but commits to dealing with any that comes up during her tenure. She was speaking with the media after she received her appointment of election instruments on Monday.
I will be like every member of the public looking at it, usually with help from the media. looking into it. It's not a matter for me until certain constitutional provisions are invoked. At that time, it becomes a matter on my plate, and I will deal with that if and when it becomes so.
Another priority for our president-designate is the issue of crime and the future of our nation's youth.
I'm concerned, like every citizen, with crime. A particular interest, I suppose, because all my career I have spent in the criminal law. I cannot fail but to be concerned with young persons and what positions they are going to occupy in this, our developing society. So I think to start off, leaving room for anything else that may step into the spotlight, I think youth and crime are my immediate concerns.
And ask what she intends to bring to the table, Justice Weeks said.
My eventual answer is a set of cutlery to deal with matters on my plate, a basket full of the fruit of the Spirit, and grace before meals.
The president-elect will officially become president of the Republic in March this year, when the present President Anthony Carmona's term comes to an end.
Staying in Trinidad and Tobago, the Police Service Commission's controversial pick for top cop Deodath Dulchan has found himself in a controversy over alleged land grabbing, but he's adamant that all his actions in obtaining close to 2 acres of land close to where he lives were above board. The Deputy Police Commissioner also denies that he used intimidation to displace at least 4 farmers who were occupying the lands for 14 years. Mark Basant of TV6 News has that story.
Deputy Commissioner of Police for Operations Deodath Dulchan is denying claims that he used strong-arm tactics to drive farmers off this land in Chattery Extension in Felicity, which he now occupies, that they had been cultivating crops on for more than 14 years. 4 farmers were affected. They are Bola Ramdas, Dindyal Tabani, Satish Maraj and Selvin Mahabir, who wrote to the Commissioner of State Lands raising concerns in August last year. It got them nowhere, as Dulchan obtained approval in September last year from the Commissioner of State Lands, signed off by Deputy Commissioner Sicharan for Commissioner Paula Drakes to occupy the 2 acres of land. In a report later forwarded to the Minister of Agriculture done by the County Caroni Extension Office, the farmers said they had occupied specific plots for 14 years before they claimed Dulchan brush-cut the land. Although reports showed that the land in question had been occupied by 4 farmers, Dulchan claimed no one was on the land and he followed procedure. He said, quote, "At that time when I made that application, no one was on that land. The land was overgrown with bushes and I could not go and squat on land like other people would have been doing it because squatting is against the law. I sent a proposal to the Commissioner of State Lands and they acceded to my proposal and they grant me a portion of land. I have done nothing wrong." Dulchan also tried to dismiss an express report that he had manipulated the system by registering to become a farmer before he was granted approval by the Commissioner of State Lands to occupy the 2-acre plot. He says, the only time you could register to become a farmer is only after you have land. You can't go and tell them you want to be a farmer. They will ask you if you have land, any lease, and you tell them no. They will not give you a farmer's badge unless you can present to them a parcel of land that you could cultivate. Sources say that Dulchan's conduct, if found to be out of line in any part of this transaction, could amount to misbehavior in public office.
The Ministry of Health in Jamaica is being urged to investigate reports that criminals have been using embalming fluid as an inhalant before carrying out extremely violent crimes. President of the Jamaica Association of Certified Embalmers, Calvin Lynn, told RGR News he wants authorities to clamp down on accessibility to the dangerous chemical. There were media reports last week that criminals were getting high on embalming fluid and that influenced the brazen manner in which they carried out crimes. It is said they have been spraying the embalming fluid on marijuana or tobacco cigarettes, drying them and then smoking before committing murders. Lynn said importers and distributors are selling the substance without discretion, and he's disappointed that the Ministry of Health has not yet addressed the issue.
I believe that should the regulations be in place, that restrictions would be there to make the accessibility of embalming fluid, including formaldehyde, difficult. Because right now, as proper operators in the industry, when we are importing chemicals including embalming fluid, we have to get a permit from the Ministry of Health approved. The other side of it is that they have distributors, importers, who are selling the formaldehyde left, right, and center. I'm not saying where these killers got the embalming fluid from, or is it raw formaldehyde. There's a difference. But it's for the authorities to step in. And I'm disappointed to know that from Wednesday, I have not seen or heard anything from the Ministry of Health.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, the West Indies bowling coach fired ahead of the ICC World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
I've been speaking with different groups, different demographics as far as kids, the youth, the administration, the teachers of the youth, different corporations and such to be able to bring inspiration, help them find their passion to be able to be successful in whatever they do and help them enjoy living life to the fullest for the most part and not be afraid to take risks and fail and learn from their failures and to progress from that. And you're basically not going to enjoy what you're doing until you figure out what you actually enjoy.
I wonder when you were approached to take on the position as interim president, whether the politics was something that you were worried about, and what is your philosophy about handling things like that?
The search process was very rigorous, and it's one that even if I was not the successful candidate, I would have been very proud of as a Howard alum.
West Indies bowling coach Roddy Eswick has been sacked ahead of the ICC World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe. The 56-year-old who joined the Caribbean side's coaching staff 20 months ago will be replaced by a coach from outside the region. Cricket West Indies President Dave Cameron confirmed the move but declined to name Eswick's replacement, citing protocol. Eswick had replaced legendary former Windies fast bowler Sir Curtly Ambrose in a May 2016 ahead of the Tri-Nation Series in the Caribbean involving Australia and South Africa. Throughout his tenure, the Barbadian has earned praises from players, with seamers like Shannon Gabriel and Kimar Roach crediting him with their recent development. West Indies will be the highest-ranked side in the March 4th to 25th World Cup qualifiers as they chase one of the two remaining spots. They missed out on automatic qualification after being ranked 9th in the ICC one-day rankings at the September 30th, 2017 cutoff date. Now to action in the regional Super 50 combined campuses and colleges. Marooners beat Windward Islands Volcanoes by 115 runs to pick up the first victory in the tournament on Tuesday. Sent into bat at the 3Ws Oval, the Marooners posted a competitive first innings total of 228 in 48 overs. Left-hand batsman John Otley top scored with 60, while Barbadian Kyle Cobbin added 44 and former West Indies cricketer Ryan Hines chipped in with 27. Medium pacer Kesrick Williams was the leading wicket taker for the Volcanoes with figures of 4 for 70, while left-arm spinner Larry Edwards picked up 2 wickets for 35 runs. In reply, the Volcanoes were scuttled out for 113 from 29 overs. DeLon Johnson managed only 28 runs at the top scorer, while Barbadian Kyle Mayers added 27 and Andre Fletcher 25. Hines was instrumental in the wicket taken for the Marooners as he scalped 3 wickets for 22 runs and Yannick Otley grabbed 2 wickets for 6 runs. And last year's runners-up Jamaica Scorpions will be heading to Antigua for their Super 50 clash with the Leeward Islands Hurricanes with 5 new players in the squad. TVJ's Renato Brown tells us more.
A second-place finish at the 2017 edition of the Super 50 tournament means the Jamaica Scorpions heads to Antigua as one of the favorites for the title. The team will have 5 50-over debutants, but in the midst of all those is Gavin Wallace, who makes a return after several seasons out.
Well, I feel real good. I've actually played for Jamaica already in Super 50, so I have some experience to draw from, and it's just to go out there and execute what I've been doing all season.
Pete Salmon has been around the team, but finally gets a maiden call-up.
Well, I'm elated that the hard work has paid off. It's just for me to continue doing the hard work and remain humble.
Also making his first trip with the team is Alwyn Williams, who was the top batsman in the JCA 2-day Super League.
Well, all I have to do is just be calm, be cool, and keep focused and working hard.
So with a top 2 finish last year, will there be pressure to perform this time around?
Not really. We're a bunch mixed with youth and experience, but I'm sure we'd love to go one step further next year. So as long as we gel as a team, do carry out the instructions given by the coach, we should be successful this time around.
The Scorpions will first be in action on February 2, where they will play the Leeward Islands Hurricanes at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua.
Still in cricket, in-demand Barbadian all-rounder Jofra Archer has signed a new 2-year deal with the Hobart Hurricanes just days after landing a $1 million Indian Premier League contract. The 22-year-old has made a massive impact with the Hurricanes on and off the field in his first Big Bash League season, and Hobart wasted little time in tying him down to an extended deal, fending off interest from Perth Scorchers. He has been one of the leading bowlers with 15 wickets and has also quickly become a huge fan favourite with his easygoing personality and brilliant outfielding. Archer, a late replacement for England fast bowler Tom Curran, who was called up for the Ashes, said he was thrilled to be remaining in Hobart for the next 2 seasons. The Barbadian will line up on Thursday with Hobart in their semi-final against Perth Scorchers. Following the Big Bash, Archer will have a stint of Quetta Gladiators in the Pakistan Super League starting February 22nd as a replacement for West Indies all-rounder Carlos Brathwaite. He will then turn out for Rajasthan Royals in the IPL, bowling off on April 7th. And finally, in football, Jamaica had to settle for a 2-all draw in the international friendly match against South Korea on Tuesday. Playing at the Modern Sports Complex, the Asians enjoyed much of the possession throughout the game, but the Reggae Boys took the lead in the 4th minute with a well-placed shot from striker Dane Kelly. Korea found the back of the net in the second half after a header from Kim Shin-wook in the 55th minute. Wook put the Koreans in the lead 7 minutes later before Portsmouth United FC midfielder Malik Foster scored the equaliser that took the game down to regulation time without additional goals. And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Again, the major developments of this day: St. Vincent and the Grenadines government face a no-confidence motion on Wednesday, but Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves says he expects it to be defeated. And in sport, West Indies bowling coach Roddy Eswick has been sacked ahead of the ICC World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe and will be replaced by a coach from outside the region. That's Caribbean Newsline. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Have yourselves a good evening.